Hi, I'm Quentin Schultze, author of the book An Essential Guide to Public Speaking. An Essential Guide to Public Speaking. I'm doing a series of videos to briefly give an overview and develop some points related to the book. And today, I'm on chapter 2, which is all about planning a speech. Planning, critically important. We have to plan. So what is planning all about? I have 7 steps I'm going to run through with you. And these steps will do the trick. Follow them and it will help you terrifically with your speaking. The first one is setting a topic. A topic. What's the topic for the speech? A subject for the speech. What is it? Well, it should be something that interests you. Something I would hope that you're passionate about. I'm passionate about public speaking as servant speaking, serving an audience. That's the gist of my book. I do speaking and webinars on that because I am passionate about it and I want to help people. Pick such a topic. Don't pick a topic just because it's a topic. And maybe you think other people will be interested in it. Maybe they will or maybe they won't. If it's not something you're passionate about, you probably don't want to go there because you won't be a compelling speaker. Second, audience. We have to define our audience. Who is the audience? If we can't say in one sentence what the audience is, chances are we're going to fail because we're going to adapt, in the end, our message for a given audience. Address that audience. We want the topic, in fact, to be of interest to the audience as well as ourselves. The best topics are at that intersection of what the audience is interested in, wants to hear about, and what we're passionate about. But define the audience as narrowly as you can. It will help a lot. Third, we need to do some research. What is research really all about? It's about becoming familiar with, knowledgeable about what we're talking about and the audience. So we research both the topic, so we know what we're talking about. We're not fools. A fool is someone who speaks without knowing what they're talking about. And we know our audience. We know the topic will interest them. We know how they feel about it, perhaps their attitudes, their perspective, their views. Maybe they have strong opinions. Who knows? Maybe they have a real burning need to know something on a topic. That's a terrific situation. Even for an informative speech, which can be kind of boring, if they really want that information, that's helpful. So we research the topic and the audience. Fourth, we have a purpose in mind. A purpose. What's the purpose? There are, historically, the ancient Greeks and Romans came up with 3 primary purposes in what's called rhetoric. Rhetoric, or public persuasion. By rhetoric, they don't mean what we think of as rhetoric today, just somebody who's saying things that are untrue or trying to manipulate people. Something that's unimportant, the rhetoric. No. They mean by rhetoric understanding the audience and creating a message that really connects with that audience. Usually they would talk about persuasion. But here are the 3 purposes that they thought about historically. The first one, persuasion. And often we think of rhetoric as persuasion. Very important to persuade people. Second, to inform people. To inform. We could say educate, instruct, but inform. So I'm trying to inform you about public speaking, but I'm also trying to persuade you to some extent to adopt servant speaking rather than other approaches to it. Because in my experience, it really works. Okay. And third, to delight, to give delight. Very important. Now we can do all 3 of those in a single speech, and we can move around between them. But we have to have one primary purpose. Is it to persuade, inform, or perhaps to delight? And the situation often will determine which of those is most important. And we have here a main idea. What's our main idea? My main idea here is that you have to have a solid planning process for speeches. As servant speakers, we plan well and we follow a 7-step process. So I could say, I'm trying to persuade you, here's my main idea, to adopt a 7 7-step process for planning. It's persuasive, somewhat informative, and it's tied to these 7 points. Okay, number 6. We create an outline. An outline. I'll say later in another video, the outline is kind of it's really the basis. It's the base that we build the whole speech on, that outline. Think of it as like you're building a house and you've got all of the woodwork and all, but you need that frame. And the outline is like the frame. And the type of speaking that I emphasize, and is usually emphasized in teaching public speaking, is extemporaneous. I'll say more about that in another video, but extemporaneous or extemp means to speak from an outline. If the outline is not well done, the speech is not well done. If the outline is not clear, the speech will not be clear. If the outline does not move us from point to point well, the speech won't make sense to the audience. So you see, here's my outline right here as a kind of informative but persuasive speech about servant speaking and the importance of planning process. And then last, that 7th process as part of this planning is adaptation. We adapt our message to the audience that we have defined up here. We adapt it. That's in some sense the heart of what rhetoric or persuasion really is. You have to know that audience and how to address that audience where the audience is. We can't just speak because it's going to sound good to us or good to person A or person B if they're not in our audience. So we adapt to the audience. So these are 7 steps. Now once we get started, we find that we bounce around some. So we may end up getting down to research here and going back and changing our topic a little bit or redefining our audience a little more narrowly. So we move around in here. But we cover all 7 in the end, knowing that we've got a solid message that's really going to serve others. We've done our research. We have our purpose, our primary purpose especially. We've got a main idea. Sometimes like we could say it's like a thesis. We've got our outline and we've adapted the message. 7 steps that will really help you with your servant speaking. Audiences will appreciate it. And you will appreciate it because it will be much more effective than if you didn't operate this way. Know these 7 steps, follow them. Thank you.